Once upon a time, in a small village near a deep, dark forest, there lived a kind and brave girl named Lucy. She had golden hair that shined like the morning sun and bright blue eyes full of dreams. Everyone in the village loved Lucy because she was always ready to help others. She would bring food to the old woman who lived alone, help lost animals find their way home, and even cheer up sad children with her sweet songs. One evening, as the sun was setting and the sky turned orange and pink, Lucy sat by the river with her little brother Tom. They were watching the fish jump in the water, laughing and throwing small stones into the river. "Lucy," Tom said, looking up at her, "do you think there is a magical place beyond the forest?" Lucy smiled. "Maybe," she said. "The world is full of mysteries, but the forest is dangerous. No one should go there alone." Tom nodded, but deep inside he was curious. The villagers always told stories about the forest. Some said there were wild animals. Others whispered about a hidden treasure guarded by an old, wise owl. That night, as Lucy and Tom returned home, a cold wind blew through the village. The air smelled different, like something was about to change. Lucy felt uneasy but brushed it off. "It's just the wind," she told herself. The next morning, the village was full of whispers. Someone saw shadows moving in the forest. An old man said, "Something strange is happening," a woman added. Lucy listened but did not say anything. She was brave, but even she knew the forest held secrets no one understood. That evening, when Lucy went to check on Tom, she found his bed empty. Her heart started beating fast. "Tom," she called, running through the house. No answer. Then she saw it, his little wooden toy lying near the door, and the door was slightly open. A deep fear filled Lucy's heart. "No. Tom, please don't tell me you went there," she whispered. Without thinking, she grabbed a lantern and ran outside. The night was cold, and the moon shined brightly, but the forest stood in front of her, dark and silent. Taking a deep breath, Lucy stepped inside. The trees were tall and thick, blocking most of the moonlight. Shadows moved around her, and strange sounds echoed. Her heart pounded, but she knew she had to find Tom. "Tom, where are you?" she shouted. Only the rustling of leaves answered her. She moved deeper into the forest, carefully stepping over roots and fallen branches. Then she heard it, a faint cry. "Lucy, help!" Her heart stopped. "Tom!" she screamed, running towards the voice. She saw him, his small figure trapped in a hole, his hands reaching up. Lucy ran as fast as she could. "Hold on, Tom," she said. She lay on the ground and stretched her hand. "Take my hand. I'm scared," Tom cried. "You are not alone," Lucy said, her eyes full of love. "I am here. I will never leave you." Tom wiped his tears and reached for her hand. With all her strength, Lucy pulled him up. The moment he was safe, she hugged him tightly. "Don't ever do this again," she whispered. "I'm sorry, Lucy," Tom said. "I just wanted to see if the stories were true." Lucy took his hand. "The only thing that matters is that we are together. Come, let's go home." As they walked back, the wind whispered through the trees as if the forest itself was watching them. But Lucy did not feel afraid anymore. She had faced the darkness and won, because love and courage were stronger than fear. When they reached home, their parents hugged them tightly. Tears of relief filled their eyes. "Lucy, you are our hero," their mother said. That night, Lucy sat by the window, looking at the stars. She had learned something important. Bravery is not about having no fear. It is about facing fear for the ones you love. So, dear listener, remember, life will bring challenges, but love and courage will always light the way. Never give up, and never be afraid to stand for what truly matters. If you enjoyed this story, and want to hear more beautiful, heart-touching tales, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Your support means the world, and it helps bring more amazing stories to life. Thank you for listening, and always believe in the power of love and kindness. The night passed peacefully, but Lucy couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her heart still racing from the fear she had felt. What if she hadn't reached Tom in time? What if he had been lost forever in the deep forest? These thoughts scared her, but then she remembered the way she had held his hand, the way he had trusted her completely. Morning came with the soft golden light of the sun streaming through the windows. Birds chirped happily, and the village slowly woke up. But something inside Lucy had changed. She felt stronger, more determined. As she helped her mother prepare breakfast, her father placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Lucy, you are truly brave," he said. "You saved Tom, and you kept our family together. But the forest is still dangerous. We must warn everyone so no other child wanders in." Lucy nodded. She knew they had to do something. After breakfast, she and her father gathered the villagers in the town square. She stood before them, her heart pounding, but she knew she had to speak. "The forest is not just a place of darkness," she said. "It is a test of courage, love, and wisdom. I went in because I love my brother and I would do it again. But we must protect each other. No one should go into the forest alone." The villagers murmured in agreement. An old man stepped forward. "Lucy, you remind me of someone," he said. "Long ago, there was a young girl in this village just like you. She too saved her brother from the forest. She grew up to be the strongest and kindest leader we ever had." Lucy felt a warmth in her heart. "We all have strength inside us," she said. "Sometimes we just need a reason to find it." From that day on, the village worked together to build a fence around the forest, not to trap it, but to remind everyone to be careful. They placed lanterns at the entrance, their light shining brightly, just like the courage in Lucy's heart. Tom never forgot what Lucy had done for him. He grew up to be a wise and kind man, always remembering his sister's love. And Lucy, she continued to help others, her heart full of kindness and bravery. Years later, when she was old and had children and grandchildren of her own, they would sit around her and ask, "Grandma, tell us the story of the forest again?" And she would smile, take their little hands in hers and say, "Remember, my dears, fear is only a shadow. Love and courage will always shine brighter." And so, Lucy's story became more than just a memory. It became a lesson for generations to come, a lesson of love, bravery, and never giving up on the ones we care about. So, dear listener, I hope Lucy's story touched your heart. If you ever feel afraid, remember that love is always stronger than fear. Keep believing, keep loving, and keep being brave. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe for more heartwarming and inspiring tales. Your support helps bring these stories to life, and I can't wait to share more adventures with you. Thank you for listening, and always remember, kindness and courage will light your way, no matter how dark the forest may seem. As Lucy grew older, her story spread far beyond the village. Travelers passing through would hear of the brave girl who saved her brother from the dark forest. They would carry her tale to distant lands, where people would listen in awe, inspired by her courage and love. But Lucy never thought of herself as a hero. To her, saving Tom was never a choice. It was something her heart told her to do. Love was like that. It didn't ask if you were ready. It simply guided you when the moment came. One autumn evening, as the leaves turned golden and the air smelled of fresh earth, Lucy sat on the porch of her small cottage, watching the sun set behind the hills. Tom, now a young man, sat beside her. "Sister," he said softly, "do you ever think about that night?" Lucy smiled. "Every day," she admitted. "Not because I was afraid, but because it taught me something precious." Tom looked at her curiously. "What did it teach you?" "That love gives us strength we never knew we had," she said. "That sometimes we must walk into the darkness to bring someone we love back into the light." Tom lowered his head, guilt still lingering in his heart. "I was foolish," he whispered. "I put myself in danger. I put you in danger." Lucy reached over and squeezed his hand. "No, Tom," she said gently. "You were just curious, and that is not a bad thing. But curiosity without wisdom can lead to trouble. You learned from it, and that's what matters." Tom nodded, feeling a warmth inside his heart. His sister had always been kind, always understanding. As the years passed, Lucy's wisdom became a light for others. Young children would come to her for advice, and she would listen with patience, sharing stories of bravery and kindness. One day, a little girl from the village came running to Lucy, tears in her eyes. "Lucy, my brother is lost. He ran toward the hills and hasn't come back." Lucy's heart ached at the fear in the girl's voice. She knelt down, wiping the child's tears. "Listen to me," she said softly. "Take a deep breath. Fear will not help us find him, but love will." The little girl nodded, sniffing. "Will you help me?" Lucy smiled warmly. "Of course, my dear. Love always finds a way." With the villagers' help, they searched for the boy, and just as Lucy had promised, they found him. tired and scared, but safe. As he ran into his sister's arms, Lucy felt her heart swell with happiness. Tom, watching from a distance, smiled. "You never changed, Lucy," he said. "You are still the light in the darkness." Lucy turned to him, her eyes shining. "We can all be the light, Tom," she said. "We just have to choose love over fear, every single time." And so Lucy's legacy lived on, not in grand statues or golden medals, but in the hearts she touched, the lives she saved, and the love she shared. So, dear listener, if you ever feel afraid, remember Lucy's words. Fear may whisper, but love will always roar louder. Choose love, choose courage, and you will never be lost. As the years passed, Lucy's story became more than just a tale. It became a lesson, a guiding light for the people of the village and beyond. Mothers told their children about her courage. Fathers reminded their sons to be as wise as Lucy, and young girls dreamed of growing up to be just as kind and fearless. But Lucy never sought praise or recognition. To her, every act of kindness was simply what the heart was meant to do. She spent her days helping others, sharing wisdom, and watching the village grow into a place of warmth and love. One evening, as the golden sun dipped behind the hills, Lucy sat outside her home, watching the children play. Tom, now a strong and kind man, sat beside her, his eyes full of admiration. "You know, Lucy," he said, "you have changed so many lives." Lucy chuckled, shaking her head. "I only did what anyone with love in their heart would do." "But not everyone does it, Lucy," Tom said. "Not everyone chooses love over fear. Not everyone chooses kindness over anger." Lucy sighed softly, looking up at the sky. "Perhaps," she said, "but the world is full of choices, and the more we choose love, the brighter the world becomes." Tom smiled, knowing his sister's words were true. One day, a terrible storm came to the village. The sky turned dark, and the wind howled like a wild beast. Rain poured heavily, flooding the small streets. People ran to their homes, holding on to their loved ones. Lucy and Tom rushed outside, helping villagers find shelter, making sure no one was left behind. "Lucy, the river is rising," a man shouted. Lucy turned and saw the river, its waters raging, crashing against the banks. Then she saw something that made her heart stop. A small boy, struggling in the water, his tiny hands reaching for help. Without a second thought, Lucy ran. The rain soaked her clothes, the wind pushed against her, but she didn't stop. "Lucy, wait!" Tom called after her, but she was already in the water, fighting against the strong current. "Hold on!" she shouted to the boy. The villagers watched in fear as Lucy swam toward him, each stroke a battle against the wild river. But she didn't give up. She reached the boy, held him close, and fought her way back. By the time she reached the shore, her arms ached, her breath was short, but she had done it. She had saved him. The villagers cheered, tears in their eyes. The boy's mother ran to Lucy, sobbing, "You saved my son. How can I ever thank you?" Lucy, exhausted but smiling, placed a gentle hand on the mother's shoulder. "Love does not ask for thanks," she said. "It only asks to be shared." That night, as the storm passed and the sky cleared, Lucy sat by the window, looking at the stars. "Tom," she said, "do you think the world will remember me when I'm gone?" Tom looked at her, his heart heavy with emotion. "Lucy, the world doesn't need statues or stories to remember you. You are in every heart you've touched. You are in the kindness people will continue to show. That is how you will live forever." Lucy smiled, warmth filling her soul. "Then I have lived well," she whispered. Years passed, and Lucy grew old, but her heart never changed. She continued to guide, to love, to inspire. And when her time finally came, she left the world as she had lived in it, with love, with courage, and with peace. But her story did not end there. No, it lived on in the hearts of every child who listened to her tales, in the kindness of every soul who chose love over fear. And now, dear listener, her story has reached you. Will you carry her light forward? Will you choose love, choose kindness, choose to be brave? And so, Lucy's name became a legend, not because she sought fame, but because love and kindness have a way of living on forever. The village she once called home thrived, built on the values she had taught, helping one another, standing together in difficult times, and always choosing love over fear. Tom, now an old man with silver hair, often sat outside his home watching the children play, just as Lucy once had. He would smile as they laughed, knowing that his sister's spirit was still there, in the joy, in the warmth, in the love that filled the village. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in soft shades of gold and pink, a little girl ran up to Tom. She had bright blue eyes just like Lucy's, and a heart full of curiosity. "Grandfather Tom, is it true?" she asked, her voice full of wonder. "Is it true that Aunt Lucy saved you from the dark forest when you were little?" Tom chuckled, his eyes twinkling with memories. "Oh yes, my dear," he said. "She saved me not just from the forest, but from my own fears. She taught me that love is the strongest force in the world." The little girl's eyes widened. "I want to be like Aunt Lucy when I grow up," she said proudly. Tom reached out and gently held her tiny hands. "You already are," he whispered. "Because every time you choose kindness, every time you help someone, every time you love with all your heart, Lucy's spirit lives on in you." The little girl beamed, feeling something warm and magical in her heart. As the years passed, Lucy's story traveled even farther, across mountains, across oceans, whispered from one heart to another. And wherever it was told, it planted a seed of kindness, of courage, of hope. And now, dear listener, the story has reached you. Will you carry it forward? Will you choose love in a world that sometimes forgets? Will you be the light in someone's darkness, just as Lucy was? If this story touched your heart, let it live on by sharing it, by spreading kindness, by being the love that the world so desperately needs. And if you want to hear more heart-warming, inspiring tales, Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support helps keep these beautiful stories alive, reminding us all that kindness and love will always be the greatest gifts we can give. Thank you for listening, dear heart. And never forget, your love, your kindness, your light can change the wee world. And so, Lucy's story continued, not in books or grand statues, but in the hearts of those who heard it, in the lives of those who chose love over fear. The little girl who had once sat by Tom's side grew up with Lucy's story in her heart. Her name was Engliah, and just like Lucy, she had a spark of kindness and courage that made her special. She helped those in need, cared for the sick, and stood up for what was right. One day, when she was walking through the village, she saw a small boy sitting alone, crying. His clothes were torn, his hands covered in dirt. Engliah knelt beside him and spoke gently. "Why are you crying, little one?" The boy sniffled and looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes. "I lost my way," he said. "I don't know where my home is." Engliah smiled warmly. "Don't worry," she said. "You are not alone. I will help you find your way." She took his hand, just as Lucy had once taken Tom's, and together they walked through the village, asking people if they knew where the boy belonged. Finally, after some time, they found his home. His mother ran to him, tears in her eyes, pulling him into her arms. "You brought him back to me," the mother cried. "How can I ever thank you?" Engliah shook her head and smiled. "Love does not ask for thanks," she said, repeating Lucy's words. "It only asks to be shared." The mother held her child close, and as Engliah walked away, she felt something deep inside her heart. A warmth, a light, a knowing. This was what Lucy had meant. This was how love continued, through small acts of kindness, through choices made with the heart. As time passed, more and more people in the village started to live by Lucy's lessons. When someone was in trouble, they helped. When someone was afraid, they gave them courage. And when someone was lost, they showed them the way. Tom, now old and wise, watched it all with a heart full of pride. "Lucy," he whispered one evening, looking up at the stars, "your love lives on. You are everywhere." And perhaps, in that moment, a soft wind blew through the trees, as if Lucy herself was answering, as if her spirit was smiling down, proud of the world she had helped shape. And now, dear listener, the story has reached you. Will you be the next light in the darkness? Will you choose love, even when it is difficult? Will you carry Lucy's legacy forward in your own way? If this story touched your heart, let it live on, not just in memory, but in action. Show kindness, be brave, and never forget that even the smallest act of love can change the world. And if you wish to hear more heartwarming and inspiring tales, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support keeps these beautiful stories alive, reminding us all that love and kindness are the greatest gifts we can give. Years passed, and Engliah grew into a strong and compassionate woman, just like Lucy. She carried Lucy's lessons in her heart, spreading love wherever she went. The village, once small and quiet, became a place known for its kindness. Travelers passing through would say, "There is something special about this place. People here care for each other." Tom, now very old, spent his days sitting by the village fountain, watching life bloom all around him. He saw children playing, mothers helping each other, and strangers welcomed with open arms. It filled his heart with peace, knowing that Lucy's light had never faded. One afternoon, as the sun cast golden rays over the village, Engliah sat beside Tom, holding his wrinkled hand. "Grandfather," she said softly, "do you think Lucy would be proud?" Tom turned to her, his old eyes shining. "Oh, my dear," he said, "Lucy isn't just proud, she is here. She is in every kind word spoken, in every helping hand, in every act of love. She is not just a memory, she is a part of all of us." Engliah smiled, feeling the warmth of his words deep in her soul. That night, Tom closed his eyes for the last time, a peaceful smile on his face. He had lived a full life, a life filled with love, a life that honored his sister's legacy. And though the village mourned his passing, they did not weep for long, for they knew he had joined Lucy among the stars, watching over them with endless love. Engliah, now the heart of the village, continued to share Lucy's story. But she did not just tell it with words, she told it through the way she lived, through the way she loved. And so the story of Lucy, the girl who chose love over fear, continued to spread far and wide. It traveled across mountains, across rivers, reaching people who needed hope, people who needed to be reminded that even in darkness, love would always find a way. And now, dear listener, the story has reached you. What will you do with it? Will you let it live inside your heart? Will you share it through your kindness, through your actions, through your love? Because the world still needs light. The world still needs people like Lucy, like Tom, like Engliah, people like you. If this story touched your heart, let it continue. Share it, live it, and be the reason someone believes in kindness again. And if you wish to hear more stories filled with love, hope, and inspiration, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support keeps these beautiful tales alive, spreading warmth to those who need it most. And so, Lucy's story became more than just words. It became a light passed from one heart to another, a whisper of hope in a world that sometimes forgets how powerful love can be. Engliah, now older and wiser, continued to guide the village with the same kindness that Lucy had once shown. Whenever someone felt lost or afraid, she reminded them of Lucy's lessons. She would take their hand, look into their eyes, and say, "Fear may whisper, but love will always roar louder." One day, a young boy named Finn came to her, his eyes full of worry. "Engliah," he said, "I want to do something big. I want to change the world like Lucy did. But I'm just a boy. I'm not strong or brave enough." Engliah smiled gently. "Oh, Finn," she said, "Lucy did not change the world by doing something big. She changed it by doing something good. by choosing love in small moments every single day. And you can do the same. Finn thought about this for a moment. Even if it's something small? He asked. Especially if it's something small, Elara said. Because small acts of love create ripples that reach farther than we can ever see. Inspired by her words, Finn began helping others in little ways, carrying heavy baskets for the elderly, sharing his food with those who had none, comforting children who were sad. He soon realized that these small moments weren't small at all. They were everything. And just like that, Lucy's light found another home in Finn's heart. Years passed, and Finn grew into a kind and wise man. One evening, as he sat by the same fountain where Tom once sat, a little girl ran up to him. "Grandfather Finn," she said, her eyes shining with curiosity, "tell me about Lucy." Finn chuckled, just as Tom once had, and pulled the little girl onto his lap. "Ah, my dear," he said, "Lucy was a girl who taught us all a great lesson, a lesson about love, courage, and kindness, a lesson that still lives in you." The little girl giggled. "In me?" "Yes," Finn said, tapping her nose playfully. "Because every time you choose to be kind, every time you help someone, every time you love with all your heart, Lucy's light shines through you." The little girl's smile grew wide, as if she had just discovered something magical. "Then I will be like Lucy," she declared. And in that moment, Finn knew the truth. Lucy's story would never end. Because as long as love existed, as long as people chose kindness, as long as hearts still carried light in the darkest times, Lucy would live on forever. And now, dear listener, the story has reached you. What will you do with it? Will you let it live inside you? Will you carry it forward in your own way, with your own acts of love? Because the world still needs light. The world still needs people like Lucy. The world still needs you. If this story touched your heart, let it continue. Share it, live it, and be the reason someone believes in kindness again. And if you wish to hear more stories filled with love, hope, and inspiration, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support keeps these beautiful tales alive, spreading warmth to those who need it most. Thank you for listening, dear friend, and always remember, your kindness, your courage, your love can change the world. And so Lucy's story continued, not just as a tale, but as a living truth carried in the hearts of those who heard it. It traveled beyond the village, beyond the hills, beyond the rivers, reaching people who needed hope, people who needed to believe in love again. Many years later, in a distant town, a young woman named Mira sat by her window feeling lost. The world had felt so cold lately. People were busy, rushing, forgetting to smile, forgetting to care. She wondered if kindness had faded, if love had become just a distant memory. Then, one evening, as she walked through the town square, she heard an old man telling a story to a group of children. His voice was warm, his eyes filled with wisdom. Mira stopped to listen. He spoke of a girl named Lucy, of her courage, of her love that never wavered even in the darkest times. He spoke of Tom, of Elara, of Finn, of all the people who had carried Lucy's light forward. Mira felt something stir in her heart. Could love still be alive in the world? Could kindness still matter? She decided to test it. The next morning, she smiled at a stranger. To her surprise, they smiled back. She helped an elderly woman carry her bags. The woman's eyes filled with gratitude. She sat with a lonely boy in the park and listened to his stories. His laughter was like music. Day by day, act by act, Mira realized something beautiful. Kindness was not gone. It had only been waiting to be woken up again, and that was when she understood. Lucy's story was not just about the past. It was about the present. It was about all of us. It was about every moment we choose love, every time we show kindness, every time we stand for what is right, even when it is difficult. Lucy was never just one girl. Lucy is all of us. And now, dear listener, the story has reached you. What will you do with it? Will you keep it in your heart? Will you let it change you? Will you be someone's light, someone's hope, someone's reason to believe in kindness again? Because the world still needs love. The world still needs people like Lucy. The world still needs you. If this story touched your heart, let it continue. Live it. Share it. Be it. And if you wish to hear more stories filled with love, hope, and inspiration, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support keeps these beautiful tales alive, reminding us all that kindness will never fade, as long as we choose to keep it alive. Thank you for listening, dear friend. And always remember, your kindness, your courage, your love can change the world.